sure B2 is going to be very excited to chase these down. So you see how my hands get beneath the level of the ball. B2 is chasing that ball off the fence. What a catch. We might want to put that in slow motion replay. Hey guys, in today's video, B2 and I are going to teach you how to hit massive topspin in three simple steps. So are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, so before we jump into today's lessons, that is going to teach you 3 simple steps to create massive topspin on your forehand. Let's talk about why. Why do you want massive topspin on your forehand? What benefit is that going to give you? Well, it's going to allow you to play the game with a lot more fun and freedom. If you don't feel the spin on the ball, then it's very hard to control the ball. So when you watch the pros play, you're going to notice something very, very common. Most tennis pros, when you go out there and play, they can swing at the ball with reckless abandonment and the ball still drops in. So they can swing as fast as they want and that ball is going to spin in. Now, most recreational players, when they go out and they play tennis, they haven't mastered that concept of topspin. So when they go out there and they hit, they try and maybe swing at a couple of balls, the balls fly on them, they lose all kinds of confidence, and then they have to go and kind of push and putter the ball around the court, which isn't a lot of fun to do, okay? So what does topspin do that makes that happen? Well, topspin is putting a spin on the ball that makes it rotate and brings the ball down, okay? The energy you're putting in the ball is bringing it down. And the swing path that you're using pushes the ball up. So the way you swing, you want to push the ball up, and then the spin you put on it brings it down. And when you can master that feeling, then you can play with a lot of freedom and the game becomes a lot more fun. So let's get into step 1 that's going to make hitting massive topspin a whole lot easier. Okay guys, step number 1 on your way to creating massive topspin on your forehand, we're going to take a look at the grip. Now here's the thing, first of all, you can hit massive topspin with any grip, but it is certainly harder with certain grips. For example, probably the toughest grip to hit big topspin on is the continental grip, okay? It can be done. Johnny Mack could hit topspin with his continental grip, but he certainly had a tougher time creating a lot of topspin like somebody like an Ivan Lendl or a Rafa Nadal, okay? And one of the reasons why is the grip. McEnroe to hit topspin on the ball would have to bring his racket comes back and it's even. So if you're bringing your racket back, if you're in a shake hands position, this is the way you hit your forehand right now, consider changing your grip, because if you're holding a shake hands position, then what you have to do as your hand, just before you hit it, you have to impart this spin on it without the frame opening up. If the frame opens up, the ball is going to fly and you're not going to be able to put topspin on it, and even more important than that, you're not going to be able to control the ball. So you got to be able to come here and turn over on the ball just at the right time to put that spin on. That's tough to do. That's why most professional tennis players today are using something called the semi-western grip. Okay, what is this grip? This grip is very easy to find. Once you find it once, you don't have to worry about bevels and, you know, where's my index finger and all this stuff. That gets confusing. That gets confusing to me even as a coach. I hate when coaches start to really get into bevels and your index finger and your palm and this and that. It's like, if I'm confused, then I'm sure other tennis players are confused. This is a lot easier. Just drop your racket and pick the racket up, okay? Now you're holding the racket like a frying pan. Now you're holding the racket like a frying pan. When you hold it like a frying pan, look what happens. The strings are automatically facing towards the ground. Now you might be thinking, hold on, I see a problem with that. If the strings are facing the ground and topspin naturally goes in the ground, so naturally goes down, you're pretty smart if you're figuring this out. Won't the ball go down in the net? Well, for lots of players, when they first started hitting topspin, it does go in the net, which is going to get us into step number 2. But you see, when we get the strings facing the ground, what that's going to allow us to do is when we go to swing up at the ball, you see now our strings are either going to be slightly leaning forward or even. And if you can do that, now you have a fighting chance to put some really nice topspin on the ball. So again, you want those strings facing the ground in your semi-western grip that allows you to put rotation and spin on the ball. The next thing you want to do, this is super important, because the strings are facing the ground, if we have a tennis ball right here in front of us, what we want to do before we go to hit the ball is step number 2. We want to make sure that we're getting beneath the level of the ball. And I like to have my students get 1 foot to 1.5 feet minimum beneath the ball, especially when they're at the baseline. Because when you're at the baseline, you should be swinging up at the ball. So I'm here and the ball's up there, and then what I want to do is make sure my hand gets beneath that level so then it can swing up at the ball, put spin on it, and go over the net. Okay, so we'll put the camera back here and I'll show you, I'll hit about 3 or 4 balls and I'll show you how low I want you to get your hands under the level of the ball. That's going to allow you to hit a higher, heavier ball that also has spin, so it can go nice and deep in the court. Okay, so I'm going to drop some balls. Watch how my hand gets beneath the level of the ball. I'm sure B2 is going to be very excited to chase these down. So you see how my hands get beneath the level of the ball. B2 is chasing that ball off the fence. What a catch. We might want to put that in slow motion replay. But what a catch. But do you see how that ball went high and then dropped in? That's the cool thing about topspin, especially when you get your racket beneath the ball. So every time, notice how I bend my legs down, get my racket under it, and lift up, and we have some nice height and spin on that ball. That's going to be a lot of fun to go use in our next tennis match. So just with those 2 steps alone, you can see that we're adding massive topspin, but we've got to add the cherry on top, and that is the follow through. So let's talk about that right now. Okay, third and final step to add massive topspin to your forehand is the follow through. And I like to call the follow through, I like to teach the sideways hello. Okay, so it looks like this. When I come here, I want the racket wrapping around like this. And I'll explain why here in a second. And this is why I call it the sideways hello, because we're basically saying hello like that sideways to the camera right now. And that's important because a lot of people, when they go to hit the ball, they tend to start opening their hand after contact, or they wrap around their shoulder the wrong way. First of all, if you do that, you're going to get tennis elbow and you're not going to be able to control the ball, because at some point, if you don't have a consistent follow through, you end up doing what I call a tweak in your shot, to where you might get ready to hit and you start tweaking your hand. That opens the strings, then you keep following through like this, and now all of a sudden the ball launches. To where after you hit, you want to make sure you start turning the doorknob like this. See that? I'm turning the doorknob like this, and I'm coming over to the follow through and doing the sideways hello. So take a look at how it looks as I get ready to hit here. Come here, sideways hello right there. And now you've got all 3 steps. So let's review those steps. Number 1, make sure you experiment with the semi-western grip. You don't have to go all the way over the semi-western grip. Here's another quick tip. Basically, if you start in the continental grip, and the more you start turning your hand over to where the strings start to close, stop when you're comfortable and try some forehands like that. But the more the strings naturally close, it's going to be easier to create topspin. Okay, it might be a little harder to hit through the ball. So you got to find a happy medium that works for you. Step number 2 is you want to make sure that you're getting beneath the level of the ball with your racket, because if you don't get beneath the level of the ball with your racket and your legs, since the strings are closed a little bit at contact sometimes, that's going to push the ball down in the net if you're coming above it too much, especially when you're back at the baseline. You get away with that on some short balls that are high. And then the third one is the follow through, the sideways hello. So try those 3 steps. You'll be adding massive topspin to your forehand. That's just one of the elements that you want to be learning to master this great game of tennis. There's so many things that go into being a tennis player that always challenges us. whether it's learning how to hit a slice serve, a kick serve, adding more power to our serve, getting more consistent forehand, backhand, getting your volleys, your strategy. There's so much that goes, your fitness, there's so much that goes into this great game of tennis, and that's why I have one of the best events of the year for tennis lovers. I call them totally obsessed tennis players, and that's TennisCon 6. So right now you can get your free ticket to TennisCon 6 by clicking up here in the card section and the description box. In fact, today I'm going to meet 3 online tennis coaching legends at the City Open in Washington, D.C. I don't know when you're going to be watching this video because I've got a lot of videos made that are in the pipeline, but I'm going to see Will Hamilton from Fuzzy Yellow Balls. He's part of TennisCon 6. I'm going to see Scott Baxter from Play Your Court. Make sure you check out playyourcourt.com. He's going to be in TennisCon 6. And my buddy Miraban Aranshad, who does the Tennis Summit, which is very similar to TennisCon. And we basically get all the best instructors on the planet to teach you guys how to get better. So I'll be sharing some videos with of them, I'm sure, online at some point. But yeah, I'm going to visit them today. So if you like that idea, get your free ticket to TennisCon 6. Like this video, go in the card section, go in the description box, get your free ticket right now, and we'll see you guys on the next video.